Don't walk this down easy street. Attract these angels in dream and their prayers. Remember the tree only children. Remember the visions in their eyes. Remember the magic of our soul. Wash away.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Chant Day. It is Wednesday. Yes, it's Wednesday. Let's get this right. It is Wednesday today, and we are at the almost to the middle of the month. Yes. So I am grateful to be here today. Thanks for joining Chant Day, and thank you for liking this video. We are here today on what is today? The 11. So 12/11. And as we, come together during the holidays with our families and our friends, remember that it starts with you, and looking at you and not pointing the finger at someone else or this person, but looking deep within yourself and apologizing to yourself for being hard on yourself or for not forgiving yourself for something or mistake, and learning to love yourself, learning to give yourself that time to heal and that time to grow. And I'm glad that I have done that with my life and with myself, because I have found that it's allowed me to really grow and to be present for someone else. So thanks for joining. Hi, Robert. Hi, Ross Lynch, fan 2005. I have lovely lips because I have lipstick on. Thanks so much, though. That's so kind. Kind words is what we try to do here. Thanks for liking this video. And I don't want to block this candle that I have. This is my candle in the window that's been there. We've been getting some rain on the eastern part of the world here, and the rain that has been around is not what we call, it's not letting up. Okay. So thank you for your compliments, and thank you for tuning into Chanda Day. My lips, it's lovely. It has lipstick. Okay. And it's interesting because someone I used to know when I used to put this lipstick on, we wouldn't, kiss with my lips. We would have to just kiss with our like that. Oh, that message is held for review. What is happening? What is happening? Maurice, that is not nice. You have to go on a good morning, Sokol. You have to go on a timeout because that's not nice. And I will have to report that, because it's not okay. So thank you for those who are here to listen to the word and to be inspired by the word as I translate the psalm, and scriptures that enlighten and that give a sense of meaning to your life and to the lives of others around you. So Maurice has been put in the timeout chair. Okay, Maurice, it's not nice to be carnal and sexual so early in the rise, especially with someone you don't know. It's not appropriate. Okay, so when we talk about carnal, we're talking about the flesh. The flesh is weak. It's this flesh, this that you see right now with the lovely lips and all of this is temporary. It's temporary. That means it's not going to be something that's going to be forever. So, with that being said, we have to be kind. We have to be kind when we approach folks and not approach them, I want to taste you, or let me see your boobs, or let me do this, or let me do that to your physical flesh. No, none of that is happening. Let's live in the righteousness that's within, inside, and the mind, and mentally looking at making relationships mentally. Mentally. I come on here and people, they want to marry me, they want to this, they want to that, and it's like, okay, you don't know me, number one. Seeing me and living with me is two different things. Because how I live, I don't have certain things in my home that the world, may have in their homes. Everyone follows the rhythm and the beat of the world. Not everyone, but not you all. Maybe. And I don't. The beauty for me is the trees and nature. So call, have a good one. Take good care. Thanks for joining Chant, and thanks for liking this video, by the way. So that's the nature of life, and that nature is outside. It is in creation. Okay, people are in offices. I feel sorry for people who are in offices because they don't get to go outside. I want to go outside. So let's get the psalm today. So let's bring my candle. My candle is burning really nice, as a matter of fact. Really good. Thank you for liking this video, and thank you for tuning in to Chant a Day. It's beautiful day. It may be looking kind of, my daughter's calling. I have to hold on. Greetings. Hi Fire, I'm on my Psalm live. It's my daughter, everyone. How you doing? Are you just waking up? Are you going to work?
I'm just waking up.
Okay, you're just waking up.
When did you start the live?
I just started at 8 minutes and counting.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So tune in, and you can stay on the line with me. Blessed Rise Chawa. Hi everyone. Thanks for joining Chantasan. We have a guest this rise. It's my daughter. She doesn't want to be on. But my daughter. So you want to call me, or you want me to call you when I'm done? Are you going to work today?
Yes.
Okay, you're trying to get up. Yeah, she's trying to get up, everyone, and she's going to work. Call mom to help get me up out of the bed. I know it's cozy. What's the degrees?
It's not too cold.
Yeah.
It's like maybe the 30s, 40s.
Well, it was raining here from first night, and it just stopped.
Oh, 27. Oh,
I took Respect out just now. I took him out, and he had to poop. And yeah, it was raining, and it's cloudy.
Maryland, 58.
It's cloudy, but it's nice. It's not cold. It's like 60 degrees. So
Oh, good.
yeah, it's really nice. It's not that it's not cold. It's not cold at all.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah. So,
That's nice.
but I'm glad I have a function today at work. I have to go to, huh? Greetings of love, Elsu. Huh?
You have a function?
I have a function at work. Yeah. It's a faculty appreciation.
Oh,
You remember they had it a year ago, and I had just started, and I got an outstanding service award, and I wasn't even there. I didn't even attend. So this year I have to attend. So even though I'm not getting an award. I don't even know if I'm, but probably not. But because I got one already a year ago, so they have to give it to someone else. But anyway, it's at 1 o'clock. I gotta go show my face. It's a faculty function with my department. Yeah. So it's 60 degrees here on this side of the world.
Okay, that's not
So jiggy with it. El Sue. We got the whole crew here on my live getting ready for the Psalm. The Psalm today is really interesting because it's 35. It's Psalm 35, and it's, talking about how great is righteousness, how great is goodness and love, and being kind and, not quarrelsome and not negative, but how good it is to be positive and loving. It's good, it's great. Great is the Lord. And that's what the Lord is defined as, whether you believe in God or not, or you call whatever you want to call the universe or whatever. It's still great. That righteousness and goodness and that mercy, that kindness. I taught my children, right, Fire? That is what you lead with. People may not be kind, so you have to be that example. Because, sometimes people are not. They didn't, they weren't taught that. They were taught something else. People can be taught to hate. And I always wanted to strive to teach love. So the Psalm today, 35, is all about that. It's like, let righteousness deal with those that are contentious. So that's our word today, to find out contentious. Struggle. It's a difficulty or danger. Hey! A difficulty or danger. That's what contend, you know. So the psalm, when this difficulty or danger happens, we can't buckle to it. We have to stand in our goodness, our good place. When I told my children that, my daughter's on the phone, when you find yourself at work, relation, whatever it is, you always hold righteousness. You may kind of get emotional. Yeah, we have emotions. But you always want to remember that you always can return to that good place. That's your goodness, your righteousness, your mercy, your compassion to have on yourself, to have, forgiveness, have long suffering. These things. These are attributes, that we I look at how we define God in an operational definition. Okay, academia. So we look at it in that way, and it's within. So greetings to everyone. El Su, Chawa, Sir Jiggy with it. All of y'all who on here with me and liking this video. I appreciate the like of the video and for subscribing. If you don't have a YouTube, get one and subscribe to this channel. My candle's in the window, as you can see, and I have my hot tea. And my daughter is our guest today. My son is making French toast, and I'm so excited to eat that before I go to my office and do some work before this function happens at 1 o'clock. I'm not gonna stay till the whole 4 o'clock. But people get you talking. It's the end of the semester. People want to know what you've been up to and stuff like that. So you gotta attend these kinds of things. So in the psalm today, I ask that the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart is acceptable in the sight of what is right, what is good, kind, loving, and sacred and compassionate and that is what I look to. I may have flaws. I may fall short of the glory. I'm not self-righteous, like I'm perfect. I have flaws. I've talked about it on my psalm all the time. This happened or that happened. So I look to that one that's the fullness of the righteousness and the goodness that created, the universe and created the ability for humans to breathe and to have breath and to, have life and to be able to express their gifts and talents by looking within and not having, not causing discourse in society, but causing righteousness to flow. And I talk about that. It's the God flow. We're flowing in that God flow. So this is the Psalm today, 35, that speaks to this, letting that righteousness, that goodness fight your battles, fight against those who fight against me. So I am not going to fight against anyone. I'm going to leave ones to that righteous place. Like I'm going to take them there and leave them and just, I'm not going to battle or stress. I learned that dealing with my son. I'm learning, not to engage in, certain, things. My son said something very hurtful the other day. I was like, I'm not going there. So I have to take that frustration and give it to that one that has no flaw. Because I have flaw, I'm gonna, want to slap you. Okay, and I don't like violence, and that's what happened to me the other day, running to go and slap him and slid and fell on the fell on the carpet, and my knee was injured. I could have gone to urgent care and all that, but guess what? What's my urgent care? This this miracle oil. When I rub that on there, instantaneous relief. I did not know to what extent this oil has gotten to be. Like, it's the longer it marinates, the better it seems the potency is. So anyway, I had this one little bottle left right here. And amazing what it did to my knee. My knee was swollen. I slid on the ground, So I have learned, and as this psalm reiterates that I leave those who are contentious, difficult, that's what contentious, difficult. I leave those to the righteousness of that's fully righteous. I leave it to that. And in verse 2, it speaks of this shield and buckler that is a rise to strength. Okay? And that rise for strength for each of you out there. Yes. So in verse 2, it's like, take hold of shield and buckler and rise for my help. Exclamation mark. So once you leave it, that shield and buckler will rise to your strength because you have cleared the path of negativity and you've cleared the path of bitterness, so you can be better in your righteousness. And that righteousness is, you're planting that seed. You know what I mean? You're the good soil, and you're keeping every little experience you're doing is in line, aligned with that definition, the operational definition I talk about. Okay? So verse 3, it goes even deeper to the spear and javelin. These are items mentioned in certain times that this is what they used against the pursuers, these spears and these javelins. And the speaking to your life in verse 3, that righteousness is salvation. That is the promise. That is what the future is going to hold. Once you stay in your good place, you stay in that loving space. And staying in that space is looking within ourselves, because we may have been hurt, we may have been, traumatized, something may have happened, we may have, experienced war and PTSD, whatever the case may be, we have gone through. It may be hard to look within. However, looking within is going to help the without. And you're not going to be without and lonely because you have searched within, because that is the promise, that salvation. That's what salvation is, isn't it? It's the future, what you're going to have. So in verse 4, it talks about, it talks about verse 1. Remember in verse 1, we talk about people who are contentious, we leave them be. So in verse 4, it talks about that they're going to be put to shame and dishonor that seek after your life to destroy your life. Because there's some that are going to support you in what you're doing and some that are going to destroy you. So you let them be turned away and disappointed. You let them be, because they're devising these evil against you, right? This is what happens. It's a reality. People are jealous. That's just the bottom line. That's what happens. And we see in verse 5 that they're going to end up being the, chaff. Laffy Taffy 88. Hi, honey. They're going to become the chaff before the wind. So why get yourself worked up, into these emotional states of mental depression, when in fact you can just leave it at the foot of righteousness? Call it what you want. The foot of Jesus, the cross of Jesus, the God, Lord, Jehovah, however you want to put that, that's your business. No one should, ride that personal relationship as a business making money off of you. I don't ask you for money to listen to my psalm. It's free. It's free. It's not about money. However, if you do want to donate, no, just so, it's about looking at leaving people where they supposed to be. Okay? Leaving people where they're supposed to be. So in verse 5, it talks about verse 1, because in verse 5 it says these folks are going to be like the chaff before the wind, blown away and gone. And the angel of the Lord is talking about with the angel of the Lord driving them away. So it's speaking specifically of an angel of the Lord. I posted my guardian angel that is listening to people talking about me, listening to people watching me, seeing people watch me rather, hearing people talk about me, those and seeing people who want to support my work and those that want to destroy that. However, my guardian angel keeps telling me, do not give up, because that is that they will be taken care of. Like, don't even worry about it. And the Psalm today exemplifies that evidence, because in verse 5, the angel of the Lord drives them away. So this is my guardian angel, and all the other angels, they got them all out there now, y'all. Okay, they're working. They don't sleep like we sleep. We sleep because our body needs the rest, right? So they don't have bodies like that. I've seen them before sitting up, little cherubs, like looking like, and I'm like, what in the world am I looking at? And I'm looking up and seeing these cherubs. So anyway, don't worry yourself, in other words. So In verse 6, it goes even deeper that these folks who try to destroy you, or they want to hurt you, or they want to, they're going to have a way that's dark. I don't even want to use the word dark, but without light. They're not be able to see. And they're going to be slippery. Because the angel of the Lord pursuing them. You don't, did it say for you to go out there and mess with folks? No. No, it said the angel of the Lord is going to drive them away. The angel will go pursue them, going to deal with them. Right? And what is pursue? Someone I was with told me they want to pursue someone else. So they want to get to know that one, right? So that's what pursue means. So the angel of the Lord is going to get to know these folks who trying to hurt and destroy and dishonor. They're going to be put to shame and dishonor, because in verse 1 it's talking about what these folks are dealing with. Contention, fighting, and seeking after folks' life and all this stuff, and devising evil, all this stuff. So in verse 7 now, after the angel of the Lord takes care of it, you don't have to do anything. You don't leave people alone. You know what I mean? Just leave it. So verse 7 now is speaking in more detail about what these folks are trying to do. It says, for without cause, a net has been hidden. Okay, that's why you got to be careful. You can't be living your life in fear, but you just have to be in your righteousness. You got to be staying in that righteous space so that you be able to see and discern what is what, and not riding off of emotion and feelings. So in verse 7, a net is hidden and a pit is dug without cause. You ain't do nobody nothing. Okay? And in verse 8 is talking about that same net that they hid for you, and the pit that they dug for you, for your life, is going to come upon them when they least expect, when they don't even know it. This is verse 8. That's why it says if you're digging a hole for someone, you better dig two. One for you, one for that person, because it's going to come back. Don't do wrong to people. That's just the bottom line. Even though you may not see your judgment right away, it's going to come. It's coming quicker now. Okay? Because when I ran to go deal with my son, my son said, judgment, yeah. Why am I running to go to violence? No. Leave people to righteousness. And I told my son, I said, I'm done. I even texted with my son and my daughter, and we have a group text. I said, I'm done talking. Done. Because I'm not going to fall in the wrongness, with you. I love you. I have to let you make your mistake. Let you go. So, we always talk about who don't hang on feel. Okay. So you don't want to come out of your good place, in other words, because it could be detrimental to you. Seriously, I'm telling you from my experience. This is not something I don't talk about things unless I've gone through them myself. Certain things. So in verse 8, this destruction that people planning, because my guardian angel said that they're watching you, they listening to you, and they're trying to destroy you. Possibly. I'm not saying none of you out there, okay? When I say destroy me, I mean, financially. Okay, financially. So anyway, the net that's hidden, this financial debt net, right, is going to ensnare ones themselves, and ones will fall into that, to one's own destruction. So I am not going to worry. I'm not going to stress. Um, uh, in verse 9 and 10 now, it's exactly what I said. I'm not going to stress, because verse 9 is like, my life is going to rejoice in righteousness. I'm going to still be joyful that there is a goodness that's out there. And I'm going to exalt in that salvation, and knowing that my future was going to be debt free, and I'm not going to have to be held down by any chains of debt, or co-signing debts, or any, using my credit, for people that are not, have the best interests for me, you know, being aware and discerning, who comes into my life and who doesn't, and who, can speak to me and who can, and who I speak to, and what I let into my space. So in verse 9, that is that salvation. I'm going to exalting in the righteousness' salvation of that future of debt free, right? And in verse 10, all my bones are going to speak, and is my bones, are going to speak. Oh righteousness, who is as you, oh righteousness, delivering the poor, out of debt, financial debt, you know, and from, ones that are maybe too strong, and the poor and needy from ones that robs the poor and needy, you know. And this is what happens. The poor and needy are being robbed every day in our society. And people are taking it into their own hands to, do violence, but we have to leave these things, because we have to leave these things to righteousness. Righteousness is the only way that's going to, exalt a nation. And that's important in our lives, to be about that righteousness. So Psalm 35, verse 9 and verse 10 really speaks to, the poor and needy. And verse 11, let's see. Verse 11 is talking about, malicious witnesses. Yeah, Laffy Tap 88. We can't take things in our own hands. We have to leave it to, because that is where we came. We came from righteousness and goodness. So we have to err on that side, because we don't want to hurt ourselves. Okay? But we have malicious witnesses are rising up. And they're going to ask things, that I don't know. They repay evil for good. You do good, they want to do bad. And in verse 12, it talks about this bereft, life being bereft. And bereft is deprived or lacking in something. So this repayment, for evil, for good, they repay me evil for good. My soul is bereft. So my soul is, deprived, or it's lacking something. And In verse 13, it talks about when I was, sick, when when they were sick, when people were ill or they were going through, physical illness, sometimes people pray for them. People pray for them, and in their prayer, they may wear sackcloth, or they may fast. I would sometimes commune with God and fast for the life of a person and to make them safe, and not ill. So it's written here in verse 13, but I, when these ones were sick, these same ones who have repaid me evil for good, when they were sick, I wore sackcloth. I afflicted myself. In verse 14, I went about as though I grieved for my friend or my brother, as one who laments his mother. I bow down in mourning. So, verse 13 and 14, we see this mourning, right? And whenever we're being tested, it's because we have something good within us that that needs growing. So that testing is part of that growth towards that goodness. Because when you're tested, you lean more on God than your own understanding. Because you're like, what the heck's happening to me, right? So you lean on, God. And what is God? God isn't outside in a church. Yes, you can go to church and have that, fellowship with others. But if you're not fellowshipping with yourself, how can you grow with a person? I would go to church with the person I was with, and they would sit over there and I'm over here. We're supposed to be sitting together. What is happening? Why are you over there and I'm here? In this separation. And it's always, there's the family that prays together stays together, right? There's those words people talk about. I don't look at it that way. I look at it in terms of communing with God. When you sit and talk to God together, guess what? You're going to stay together for longevity. Yes, that's why the next relationship I have to be with is going to be marriage and longevity, where we, every night before we go to rest, we are going to commune with righteousness. Thank you for liking this video, by the way. Communing with righteousness, talking to that with each other, right? And waking up together and thanking that righteousness for breath, that we can breathe, that we have life. That we have life. And we have life in abundance. And that life that we have in abundance is to build us, because that is the soil. We are the good soil. So Laffy Taffy 88, being tested is what's going to happen. Yeah. That's going to happen. And when we have this focus on goodness and everything we think about, we try to go from that place of, people talk about what would Jesus do, right? People don't know what Jesus would do because they don't know themselves. Jesus is inside you. You're inside of that one. But you separate yourself. Like I said, I was going to church with someone and they're sitting over here and I'm over here. We're not they're not holding my hand and we're not sitting together, you know. And it becomes fruitful when you can multiply. You can multiply when you are together, right? You multiply. Your finances are multiple. So when you're in a relationship, that ship needs to be on one course destination. You can't be destination here and destination here and you're like this. So Laffy Taffy 88, you need to come together and commune with that righteousness inside of you. That's where it starts. Then you will find that door will open to all the possibilities, and it's endless possibilities. So in verse 15, we see that in verse 15 at when you stumble, okay, when you stumble, people are going to rejoice and gather. They gather together against you. Wretches whom I did not know tore at me without ceasing. So coming together with yourself is being alone with yourself. That is the first step. Not being afraid to be alone. That is the first step in forgiving and letting go. By being alone. And what do you do when you're alone? You're not sitting there playing video game. You know what I mean? Don't do that. Learn to crochet. Learn a skill with your hands as opposed to a video game. Maybe you want to go and get some soil and some plants, and maybe you're not a green thumb, but you still need to put your hands in the soil. I'm telling you, you make contact with that soil, you're going to feel something. It's going to be like, what, wait a minute. Because that is, you are the good soil. You have to make connection with that. And if it's representing actual soil you want to go get, and that's healing. I know people who are in their 60s and they're gardening, starting to garden, and I'm like, wow, that's really good. And they tell me that they love it. It gives them a sense of purpose. It makes, and they know their passion. It's like the gateway to finding their gifts and their talents. After they've gardened and put their hand in the soil, it's like, wait a minute, I like cooking now. And they're cooking and baking and, doing all these different activities with their hands. So it starts there. You have to start it there, Laffy Taffy 88. You have to forgive yourself. You cannot forgive and let go unless you forgive yourself for making a mistake. I had to forgive myself first before I forgave the person who left me, and didn't tell me that they met someone, So I had to forgive myself for loving them so much like that it hurt, and I was hurt, like crying about it, and just this, going into spaces I didn't want to go into. So in order for me to get out of those spaces, I had to forgive myself and then forgive the person. And I've let go. So it's a beautiful thing. So we see that, at People are joyful at my stumbling, and they're gathering, and these are wretches whom I did not know. These are wretches that I did not know. These are people I don't even know calling and leaving, messages that weren't nice. And they tore at me without ceasing. And it is easier said than done, but you have to practice. You have to stay in the practice. Practice by doing little things like, you know, making yourself breakfast, making your partner breakfast, making your partner and you together making breakfast, washing the dishes together, cleaning the house, and, doing things together. So you want to do that because together you're more powerful than when you're separated. That's why I gave you the example of the person that I used to know, or that I was with at church. They're sitting over there and I'm over here. We're not to get, it was weird that was taking place. However, that was a sign that the relationship was, coming to a closure or an end long before it actually did. So things are ending long before you actually end it, and that's what we see in the psalm, because these folks are gathering together against against me. This is what happened to me this past summer. These folks were gathering together against me. These are wretches that I did not know. They tore at me without stopping. They would and then my dad passed away, and it was even worse. They left vicious voicemails. But anyway, I looked at it as in verse 16, they, talking about gnashing their teeth at me, and gnashing their teeth at you is, they're just, and I played the voicemail, so everybody heard it. And this is what happened, Laffy Taffy 88. They, did this. So I don't hold grudges or revenge. That I leave it to that righteousness that is the Most High, according to this Psalm 35. So I left it alone. And in verse 17, even though these things were happening, I had a question: how long will righteousness look on at this wrongness that's happening to me? I didn't do anything to anyone. I just wanted to love. And then I got betrayed. So in verse 17, it's a question and it's a statement. It's like, rescue me from this destruction. My life is precious, my precious life from these beasts, Yeah, making jokes about the past in hurtful ways is that holding on. Yeah. So yeah, the past can hold you as a prisoner. So you don't want to have the past hold you as a prisoner. You want the promise of the future. And that promise of the future is that righteousness, right? And that righteousness is in verse 18 so powerful that verse 18 speaks of, I will thank that righteousness in the great gathering, in the mighty throng. I'm going to, give adulation. Whether you go to church on Sunday and you do that then, or Monday, I'm in church in my home every day. Every day when I'm cooking, I'm having church. When I'm in the shower, when I'm getting ready, I'm having church. Whatever I'm doing, I'm having, church. If I'm making love, that's not happening. But that is having church. To me, that's coming together in that way is coming together in that righteousness. and it's sacred, right? So surrendering is long suffering, I would call it. So letting go and forgiving is that long suffering. You're going to have to suffer long, however you want to forgive, and that you have to surrender in terms of your own self. You're surrendering yourself to forgive yourself, basically. Okay. So in the great gathering, there's this, mighty, throng, and you're gonna become who you're supposed to be once you look within yourself and forgive yourself and forgive others. And ask others to forgive you if you've hurt someone, or if you've did something, you want to ask for forgiveness. So in verse 19, those who have done you wrong will not rejoice over you. Okay, they're not gonna wink that, they when people wink an eye, they call the evil eye, because they're closing one eye and leaving one open. So that's the evil eye there, when one is closed and one is open. We have this third eye that's right here. I'm trying to get a bendy so I can put my bendy right here. 8:44 a.m. 88%. Okay. Awesome, Laffy Taffy 88. One love for all, as all love as one. Yes. And that's the that's what we have to be about. So yeah, the winking of the eye, that one closed eye. So that according to verse 19, people are going to hate you without a cause, without a reason to hate. They're going to hate. So this is what happens. And the tranquility that we seek, right? The tranquility that we seek is powerful, because it starts from within, and within is that mindset, right? And finding different activities that support that mindset. So people are going to not love you without a reason. Okay, similar to what happened to me. A person doesn't love, they leave vicious voicemail, they don't love me, but they don't know me, and they don't have a cause. Their cause is now they're with someone I used to be with, so they don't want me speaking to the person or something. So but people are where they are, and people are where they're supposed to be. We're all where we're supposed to be. So we have to be thankful for that. So in verse 19, we see that, this rejoicing over you wrongfully, they don't love you without a cause, and they don't speak peace and tranquility and serenity and patience. They don't speak that. But they're against those that are quiet in the, and they are devising these words of deceit, and people do that. They go onto Facebook and they say they're engaged to someone when they're not, or that they're with someone when they're not, and this is deceitful. So this is words of deceit. And this is an example in verse 20 of these folks that in verse 1 we are told to leave them alone, right? Righteousness is going to deal with them. Righteousness is going to fight against those that fight against you, whoever. And that's why I don't fight against anyone. I leave people stay. Okay? I leave people alone. So in verse 20, And this words of deceit, devising that, and not speaking love and tranquility, right? Verse 21, what are their mouths speaking? Their mouths are speaking, aha, aha. Our eyes have seen it, like I see you. That's what I said. Remember I said that people are, my guardian angels are people watching me. They're listening to me. They're looking. And this is what verse 21 reveals, that they're speaking, aha, aha, we see you, where our eyes have seen it. So in verse 22, it speaks of righteousness is the one that is seeing, is all seeing and all knowing. They talk about Santa Claus knows the good and the bad and knows if you've been naughty or nice and all this stuff. They create this image and this idol in the world for people to follow, when it's within themselves that righteousness and goodness flows from, right? So we see in verse 22 that righteousness is not going to be silent. It's not going to be far from you and I. Because verse 23 is awaken that righteousness and rousing that righteousness for I and I vindication, for I and I cause. My Most High, the Almighty. So to verse 24, vindicate. I will be vindicated. That righteousness is going to vindicate I and I, all of I and I, according to righteousness, according to your righteousness. How good were you to someone? Were you mean to someone? Are you apologizing from being mean? So you're going to be vindicated because of your own goodness, in other words. So ones are not going to rejoice over you. And they're not going to speak in their hearts, our heart's desire. They're not going to say that they've swallowed you up. They're going to be put to shame and disappointed altogether who rejoice at your calamity. This is verse 26. They're going to be clothed with shame and dishonor that magnify themselves against you. Like, what the FF and going on and, all this kind of head turning and bang, like, stop it. So in verse 27, you staying in your righteousness. Those who stay and delight, they're like, ooh, I love goodness. I'm not going to touch that. I'm going to leave that one alone. Those who speak that and talk about they love righteousness and they love mercy and goodness, and people say they got to be fake. They can't be that good because they're not that good. So they can't believe someone else is. So you will know someone from how they react to you. They tell you who they are, better they can show you. They show you, better they can tell you. Either way. So in verse 27, right, let those who delight in righteousness shout for joy and be glad and speak. Great is righteousness. Righteousness delights in the welfare of righteous servants that serve that righteousness. Verse 28, then I and I tongue is going to talk about righteousness, not about people. My guardian angels that people talk about, don't sit and talk about folks. Let your tongue talk about righteousness, your own righteousness. What did you do good today? Oh, I helped a person open, held the door open or the elevator, whatever. Okay? So it's important. It's important to stay in that goodness, stay in that righteousness, because It's great. It's the greatest ever thing that you can do with yourself. So, in the ending of this psalm, 28 verses. This psalm is 28 verses. And the 28 verses of this psalm, the final verse is about you. So people want to know, what can I do to get started on this road to righteousness, right? It starts with you talking about it. Talking about it, write it down. What are some things, some examples of righteousness? In other words, what are some examples? So, and the word today really kind of fits in like a puzzle, because examples of righteousness, knowing how great righteousness is, allows you to know that you belong to that. You may not belong to the world. Everybody in the world got their Christmas tree, they got the da 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 da, but you may not be doing that, and it's okay. Know that you belong to a family that is higher than this earthly family. And knowing that you belong to a higher family gives you that ability to respect this earthly family that you have. You're not going to go curse people out and tell them, no. You leave people alone. Psalm 35. People contentious, you leave them stay. Leave them to righteousness. So, because you belong to the family of righteousness. So, this word today, belonging, is an action. ING is the present. When we're walking, ING, we're doing it right now. So, belonging is happening now. You are belonging right now to the family of righteousness. So when I behold my fellow divine beings, like you all out there, you are my fellow divine beings. I may see folks from different walks of life with a variety of histories, stories, and perspectives, right? Traveling paths that are unique to them. Although we may be different on the surface, we may be different on the surface. We are all members of the same family, that righteous family. When I focus on the divine inheritance we share as children of this righteousness, I see kindred righteous ones, fellow righteous travelers on the path of growth and standing firm in that righteousness. Having a perspective of righteousness about others. Like even though that person left a vicious voicemail, I'm still looking for the good in that person. You know what I mean? I still look for the good. So I have that perspective, that righteous perspective about others, belonging. It gives me strength to better feel my own. Yes. When you forgive someone, especially for yourself and then someone else, you're open to growth. Should I feel as an outsider or someone who doesn't belong? I remember that I am foremost a righteous being, and I am part of everything righteousness is. This word today is brought to us by Galatians chapter 3, verse 28. And Galatians speaks, there is no longer Jew or Greek. There is no longer slave or free. There is no longer male and female. For all of you are one in Christ Jesus. And when you unpack Christ Jesus, what do you get? Forgiveness, long-suffering, compassion, humility, grace, mercy, love, kindness. You get all that, right? So be one with that. All of you are one with that. So unpack it. You may have grown up calling these names, God, Lord, and Jesus, and they may trigger something negative, or they may trigger something positive. You have to hold on to the positive and go with that and live in that. So, our word today is quite powerful because it gives that evidence that you belong to something greater than what you think. Like you belong to something greater than your relationships with people so that you can make those relationships better, right? And it tells us how significant we are to ourselves and to each other. So we have to value ourselves and value each other. I value your time. Thanks for being here for an hour and 6 minutes. I value you. And I know that I am going to be around people that value me. And when I'm around them, they're not on the phone talking to someone else. They're going to be up in my face and we're going to be, fellowshipping. What kind of righteousness happened to you today? That's what I'm going to have. So when I look at the verse today coming from Isaiah 7, verse 14, is about a sign. That there's a sign that righteousness itself is going to give you. And that sign is about the virgin. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son and will call that son Emmanuel. Emmanuel. Right? That son is called Emmanuel. So when Galatians is talking about Christ Jesus, that's rather what is a new name, right? I said before that's fairly new. Emmanuel, Yahweh, Kadamawe, these are the ancient names that one was called. And this virgin conception may be difficult for people to grasp because they're in this human body. And in order to conceive, you have to have intercourse, right? So that's a given because it says the virgin will conceive. It didn't speak of the virgin is going to have sex and conceive. So we know conception has to have a pathway for that conception. And that virgin, possibly with the Most High, was a virgin. And that's this conception and giving birth broke that, right? And that's, people have debates about that all the time. About, my great aunt, she said, how can she, have conceived and still be a virgin? She's not a virgin anymore, right? So the imperfection, in other words, of this birth and this conception and all of what they talk about, this one was born in her and this one wasn't born in, that's going to be up for debates and talking. People are going to talk about that. So in the verse today, I look at this verse from Isaiah 7:14, tying into the Psalm 35, that the righteousness is so great and is so powerful that according to Galatians, it doesn't matter. There's no title with that. No Jew, no Greek. There's no slave, no free. There's nothing of any of that. Because all of that is one in this righteousness, in that goodness and mercy and love. We're all part of that. Whether you're black, white, Hispanic, righteousness is righteousness. It doesn't, have a gender dominant. It's not gender dominant, in other words. It's not, skin color dominant. like all white people are righteous and black people are evil. It doesn't work that way, according to Galatians 3:28. Okay? And with that being said, the power of that is so powerful that it has given the power of a virgin to conceive and give birth to a son that is going to change the story of humanity for all time to come. So keep on chanting, keep on living in that light of righteousness and knowing that you have been blessed. You are highly favored and you're so wonderfully made in the image of righteousness. That is what you call God, Lord, Jesus. Okay? Stay in that presence and know that you have been promised something. Do not doubt that it's for you. Don't doubt that. Have a blessed day, everyone. And remember, stand in love. Don't fall in it. My mommy called. I got to call her back. Have a blessed day, everyone. Take good care. Hi, mommy.